see a socialist college professor get left dumbfounded after Charlie Kirk lays out some very basic facts about why socialism sucks and also isn't what he really thinks it is. Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. I know you're going to like it. After all, who doesn't like a good smackdown of socialism? It's a horrible, terrible, and horrendous ideology, and frankly, it's probably best we just stop talking about it as if it's some kind of good thing, because a lot of young Americans seem to think so nowadays, and it is very much because of professors like that guy who you're about to see right now, who just seem to be living in fantasy land rather than reality. Academia in a nutshell. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to get right into it. It's going to be good. But first, please do me a huge favor, guys. Like our video, share it around, and yes, subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel if you are new, so we can keep delivering this great content to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it, and let's get into it. As always, I'm your host, Darian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
Socialism works for everybody.
Does it?
Yeah.
Where is socialism work? Where is socialism worked?
You pay your income tax?
Income tax is not socialist.
It's not?
No. Well, I think it's way too high, isn't it?
Yeah, but socialism is where everybody pays in.
Why don't you, do you give more money than your income tax every year to the government?
What?
Do you give more than what the government asks you to give each year?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Give a lot.
You give more to the government?
Yeah.
So you give more than what the IRS asks you to give?
Yeah.
You do?
Uh-huh.
So you think that, do you trust the government?
I don't take all the deductions that I'm entitled to.
Do you trust the government?
For what? Of course I do.
You do?
Yeah.
You trust the government that recklessly audits people they disagree with and runs inefficiently and has huge bureaucracies of
I have to
nothingness?
tell you something. I'm a retired federal employee, so I used to work for the government.
Which agency?
Department of Agriculture.
Okay. So do you think there's any waste in the food stamp
A Fed, and he trusts the Fed. Wow, imagine my shock.
allotment in the Department of Agriculture?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, so you do think government is wasteful?
Well, we have to do something. We're not perfect.
Well, that's a horrible argument to spend trillions of dollars having to do something, isn't it? You just admitted you worked for the Department of Agriculture, which oversees the distribution of food stamps, right?
And well, actually, what I did was
part of what the Department of Agriculture does is
payroll.
You did payroll for the Department of Agriculture?
Well, for most of the government.
Okay.
We wrote 700,000 paychecks twice a month.
So did you know of any government employees that were not very good at their job?
I know a lot.
Did they get fired?
No, they hired contractors to do their work.
So, but did the government employees get fired?
What? Some of them did.
For not doing their job?
Yeah.
I find that very hard to believe.
The guy literally just said, no, they didn't get fired. We just hired other people to do the work. And then he says, yeah, oh yeah, well, a lot of them actually did get fired. Which is it, bucko? Which is it? Yeah, something tells me they weren't actually getting fired. I don't think this guy even knows what he's talking about half the time.
We have a lot of people that get fired.
It's very hard under civil service protection to lose your job in the government bureaucracy. Very difficult.
If you go to the MSPB, you'll see that they have 90% approval rate for dismissing people.
Do you think government is too big?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish Charlie would just ask him, if it's very easy for them to get fired, why were you just saying 2 seconds ago that they hire contractors to do their work and don't fire them? Make him clarify his point, because the guy's all over the place.
And you and I are in agreement. We agree that there's inefficiency, and so that's our whole argument.
I'm saying socialism is what our government's about.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Part of the worst parts of it might be, but I reject those parts of government.
Socialism certainly might be what the government is about if you're talking about the Biden administration. I mean, just look at this hyperinflation, guys. Maybe you can't legally call it that, I don't know, but it sure as hell feels like it. I mean, when I go to McDonald's and I have to pay 15 bucks for a burger and fries, as far as I'm concerned, that's socialist prices. I'm sick of it, guys. It's insane. And that is why I've decided to partner with Goldco, guys. I really recommend you check it out yourself. Go to rtmgold.com. You can click the link in the description or go to your web browser. Why do this, guys? It's real simple. Many people believe that investing in precious metals is a great hedge against inflation, myself included. If you look at the history of the dollar, as the value of the dollar has gone down, the value of gold has gone up. Yes, this is true, and for that reason, I really recommend check it out. Okay, so go to rtmgold.com. You can roll over your IRA and 401k, penalty and tax-free. And not only that, you can get a free gold kit. Yes, you heard me right, free. So you can get some assistance in making what is obviously a very big financial decision to make for anybody. So guys, check it out, rtmgold.com. You click the link in the description or type it in your web browser.
What parts? Income tax, welfare.
Yeah, that would be a good start. Food stamps are too much. Housing and Urban Development, Department of Education.
What about Social Security?
I don't think young people should be forced into paying something we're not going to see. Social Security annualized growth rates are lackluster at best.
Yeah.
The government takes 7% of our generation's earnings to subsidize older Americans.
Have you seen the homeless problem?
That's
Have you seen people that cannot
Sure.
work for a living, that have mental problems, or
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be a safety net, but not a hammock. I think you'd agree with that.
socialism.
Define what you mean by socialism, though, because I think we might be
Take where everybody pays in together. Everybody pays in for the common good.
for the common good. So.
Yeah. This university here, how many people could go to school here if it wasn't for the government paying for it? Nobody could pay for an education.
Sure, there's private institutions that exist. Sure, there are.
Yeah, but how do they work?
Quite well.
Because of donations. They work on socialism also.
So if your example of socialism is college tuition that rises every year, that is run widely inefficient, administrators that are unchecked, professors that should be fired, then you and I have the same definition of socialism, which is something that doesn't work. So here's the whole thing is I think government is far too big. It's gone outside of its constitutional intent and authority, and market-based solutions are far better for the well-being of its citizens than government bureaucracies are.
Yeah, but there are some things that have to be paid
Of course,
for
no,
by
I
the
agree with that.
public.
Police, firefighters.
Police.
But wouldn't you agree it's better on a localized level than a nationalized level?
Boy, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we agree. So localize more government programs. Don't federalize them.
But you still have to have government, even if it's at the local level. You have to have
Sure,
socialism.
I'm not an anarchist, and that's not socialism.
Okay, but my point was that nobody here could go to school if they had to pay for all the costs.
They do pay for it in tax. Somebody pays for it somewhere, whether it be taxes or the endowment or donations or tuition.
The alumni. You know who actually pays for school here?
The taxpayers mostly.
The sports program.
Well, and taxpayers. It is a publicly funded school, I would imagine, right? I mean, it's a
I
state
have a
school.
friend who is admitted to
Not to mention that sports program literally exists because of the taxpayer.
the graduate school, got a full ride scholarship for 2 years as a graduate student to study animation.
Okay,
So she wasn't paying a dime.
but somebody paid for it
Yeah.
at some point. Nothing is free. Somebody's paying for something at some point of the transaction.
Right, but they had money. It was socialism that somebody paid for it. A lot of people paid
Right.
for it.
So I don't support that. I don't support other people being able to live on the well-being of the forced extraction of wealth from others. I believe for the paying of basic services, such as police and fire, roads and bridges on the most localized level possible, as well as the national military. Do I believe in the Department of Education? No. Department of Labor? No.
That's all socialism.
A full ride scholarship to study animation. You know, a question I really wish Charlie Kirk asked this guy just now is, okay, you say she studies animation on a full ride scholarship. How much did she end up making after, compared to how much tuition was taken out and paid for on her behalf? Furthermore, does she even have a job in animation? These are very fair questions to ask, and I do wonder if it's as rosy as a picture is being suggested here.
That's why I don't support it.
What, you don't believe that we should have roads? We should have private roads and people pay for them as they use
No,
them?
I believe as localized as you possibly can be. The Department of Transportation is a mess. It's widely inefficient. Doesn't work well at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're making my argument for me.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that we still have to have socialism, even if it isn't
Okay, so
effective. You still have to have
your example is social. So socialism is the government run of social utilities, essentially. The government use, so the government monopolization of social utilities. And the worst parts of our society, such as the Veterans Administration, which runs horribly, is a socialist program. I mean, or whether it be our disaster public schools are a socialist institution. So that sucks.
Public schools really suck.
Yeah, and those are quasi-socialist government institutions.
Yeah, but they're poorly run.
They're poorly run because they're government run. So for example, do you think Catholic schools or government schools run better? Do you think Catholic schools or government schools run better?
I think Catholic schools are much better.
I agree. So that's a private institution.
But that's because people contribute to the church, and the church gives the money out. And
The price per pupil to educate a student in a Catholic education in the state of Louisiana is about $8,900 a year. The public education system is about $14,000 per year. Yet the Catholic education is a much higher quality, much more likelihood to go to college, much more likelihood to stay out of gangs, whereas the public education is the exact opposite.
But what you're confusing is qualified, capable public administrators who are pretty much elected by how much money they spend, as opposed
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, that's my critique.
as opposed to people who are dedicated to their job.
So first of all, props to this guy for admitting that Catholic schools generally do a better job teaching students than public school. I honestly didn't expect that. I thought he would, just double down on that kind of ridiculous idea of the government doing things right. What he's really missing is this idea that government is inherently inefficient because the people in there just don't care. I mean, think about it this way. Do you know who the largest employer of people in the world is? It's not a trick question. If you guess the United States government, yes, you are right. That is literally the largest employer of people in the world. Part of the reason for that is that they don't fire a bunch of useless people who aren't actually doing anything. And you even see cases where private companies are kind of running a socialist way. Twitter comes to mind. Well, now it's X, formerly Twitter. You guys remember when Elon Musk fired about 80% of his employees and you had the media running cover for the old regime of Twitter, saying all this stuff about, oh, look at Elon. He's such an idiot and a buffoon. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just got rid of 80% of his employees. He's screwed. Twitter's failing. Their stock's down. Well, how did that end up going? Seems like X, yes, it's X now, is better than ever. Can you imagine if we had a similar level of trimming in our government? Well, Elon Musk did suggest he was planning on doing something on Trump's cabinet potentially. So, hey, assuming Trump gets in, we'll see how that might go. That could be pretty interesting.
Right, that's why we need more private institutions, such as Catholic schools. So we're in agreement here that the most dysfunctioning parts of our society are based in government control and the misallocation of resources.
Yeah, by the fact that we have really incompetent administrators.
But administrators will always be incompetent because they're run in an incentive structure that does not require competence for them to keep their job. And that's why markets work, because the incentive structure is for good ideas to continue, and the lack thereof will be the termination of their services, or people will stop going there.
So what happens to the people who are incompetent, who can't do a job, who can't work? Should they be thrown out in the street?
No, they should be taken care of by churches and community members and individuals. No, that's voluntarism. There's a difference between socialism and voluntarism. Giving money to the church is not socialism. A synagogue helping poor people is not socialism. A mosque doing a food shelter, that's voluntary charitable transaction. Socialism is the involuntary extraction of wealth to fund social utilities.
But anyway, these charities...
Precisely, and what this really reminds me of, you have a lot of people who push this idea that Jesus was some kind of hippie socialist, Jesus Christ. It couldn't be farther from the truth. Yes, he did believe in helping in the poor, but that's not inherently a socialist thing. What it's inherently socialist is saying, you have to give me this money so I can distribute it as I please, and if not, I'm going to shoot you in the head, right? Because that's what it is. It's coercion by point of gun. Make no mistake about it. Christ, on the other hand, advocated for people out of their own voluntary ability and goodwill to help the poor. Now, I'm not going to say this is a capitalist or socialist thing, because it's not, but if you had to pick one of the two, that's obviously close to capitalism, given that it's a voluntary thing and done within some kind of free market setting, not, again, by point of gun.
These are run by groups who accept contributions.
Individuals, though. Individuals that are all voluntary. Socialism is involuntary.
Yeah, you have to work together as a culture.
No, but someone could leave the church. You can't leave the government extracting wealth from you. There's a difference.
You can leave the country too.
Of course you can. Yeah. Well, no, actually you can't. Some socialist countries you can't. In Cuba, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Democratic Republic of North Korea. I believe that's the full name. Can't leave there either.
Russia. What is Russia?
Russia is a crony fascist dictatorship now.
It is?
Yeah.
It's not a republic?
No, Russia's far from a republic. They might want to call them that, but they're a plutocratic, cronyist fascist dictatorship now.
He really thought it was some kind of gotcha to ask if Russia was a republic. Well, guys, we're gonna have to cut it off there. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed the clip. As always, everybody, do me a favor. Comment below, guys. Let us know what you liked about the video and what kind of content you want to see next. Thank you, and we'll see you guys again soon. God bless.